I might do some weird face still.
So, welcome to another episode of CM Director Japan. It's been a while. I'd like to introduce our guest today, Masaki Miyamura. He's a director, DP, and drone operator based in Nagoya. Welcome.
Yes, thank you very much for having me, David.
Sure.
Really appreciate it.
Okay, so let's get right into it. Can you tell us a little about your background, Masaki?
Yes, so I came to Japan in 2006. And before that, I used to work with IT.
Okay.
Right, so my father used to do video work when I was a child, since I was like 13 maybe. And but it was on that time, it was like really like those big cameras, like nothing, very not analog, with those VHS and Betacam. So I didn't really like it, but I used to help him to do edits. So I used to edit on Premiere for him, and I learned a lot about video, about how to edit. I mean, I guess that when you edit stuff, you learn what you need. So you kind of learn what kind of angles will be better for specific things. So anyway, that's it. When I came to Japan, I bought my first camera, and I actually started to work with photography first. Yeah, so I worked a few years with photography, and when the mirrorless came up, I really like sparkled my desire to shoot video again. I was really mesmerized for the technology, and then I started shooting video for, I think, for the last maybe 6 years. I've been doing video again.
Cool. All right. So can you tell us, like, so how did you get into filmmaking, like as a profession, like in terms of how did you start, I guess, how did you start taking on clients, and how did you establish your company or your production?
Okay. Yeah, so I never really studied, like I never went to any school, right? So any photography school or video school, cinematography, nothing like this. I always studied by myself. And I think the way I got it was I had, when you have a camera and people ask you to do stuff, right? So I just started doing for like friends, and friends like it. They start to introduce me to other people, until a certain point where, like, actually, people that had business, or somebody needs some like a professional portraits or something like that. So those jobs starts coming up. But of course, I was working in Japan as a kojin, so as an individual, right? But I was already working full time with photography and video.
So like a freelancer?
Yes, like freelancer, exactly. And I started to feel this. Maybe this is gonna go beyond your question, but I really felt this culture difference, because despite my mother being Japanese, I have never been in Japan before 2006. So working in the Japanese industry, it was really like, I felt really like a lot of walls, or a lot of difficulties. And I decided to work for a Japanese company. Right. So I worked for a Japanese company for 3 years, and then I learned how Japanese do the stuff, how the industry works, how the talk works, everything. And then I quit, and then I started my business again.
So you got on with the company to learn the ways.
Yes. And I was very honest when I got into the company. I told them that my goal was to actually learn, and then I was going to quit in a few years. Yeah, I told them that, and they said it's fine.
Okay.
Yeah, right. That's exactly what I did.
Wow. So okay, so after you quit your company, like, how did you actually set up your own company? You have a production company called Six Lights.
Yeah. So after I quit this Japanese company, I built my own company, which was a different name at the time, and I really started to get lots of jobs, because I already knew a lot of people. So it's basically networking.
So you had a lot of connections from your previous work?
Yes, definitely. So a lot of people already knew me, and once they knew that I quit my previous job, a lot of people got in contact with me to look at offering jobs and talk about projects. And I recently made a company in Japan, so officially it's a Kabushiki Gaisha company. It's been just 1 year actually, so I just turned into a company.
So it's quite new that you became.
Yes, yes, yes.
Right, a corporation.
Exactly.
And are there any big advantages to having a corporation as a production?
Yeah, so the main reason why I did that, it's because once you start to get kind of big jobs, like big companies start to hiring you, if you're not a company, like you can't really get the jobs if you're a freelancer.
Right. So companies in Japan they'll kind of they have certain expectations about your company status.
Yes, yes, definitely. That's huge in Japan. I don't think it's illegal, like legally, but they like big companies won't really deal if you are just a freelancer.
So that's the business culture.
Yes, definitely.
I see. So so you have that established now, and so are you working with a team as well? Is there just you, or how many people?
Yeah, so when I found the company, so I'm one of the co-owners. So I founded with we are three owners, three co-owners. So it's me and two other people, and we already have I think 5 employees.
Right.
So yeah, and we do photography and video. So everybody does a little bit of everything.
So what about the Nagoya market? Like, do you get all of your work in Nagoya, or do you have to travel outside, like maybe go to Tokyo or other places, or?
Yeah, I used to go to Tokyo a lot, but because I love to work, to travel and work, it's really fun and you get to know new places and new people. I really like this kind of jobs. That's why it's one of the reasons why I like to work with video and photography. And but I think Nagoya, not only Nagoya, but Aichi, the prefecture of Aichi, has a huge industry, and especially because there's a lot of car companies here, right? Like Toyota.
Yes.
So this specific market is huge. Um, so I will say that currently maybe like 80% of my jobs are like local or like close to where I live, to where my company is. And then I go maybe 20% in other prefectures like Tokyo, mostly Tokyo, right?
So which you enjoy, right? So you're like,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
it's good to change things up, yeah?
Yes. I was actually trying to take it more jobs there, but since COVID, then it's actually better not to go.
I see. Right.
Yeah.
So marketing is an essential skill for a filmmaker, of course, right? So how do you typically find clients? And is it getting back to what you said before, was just through natural networking, or do you have any kind of a system?
So to be really honest, I have never market myself or my company like over internet or any kind of like offline like advertising until this year. So I started to do from this year because we got everything ready now, like the website and everything. But before that was mainly networking. It was mainly like people I knew, and those people knew other people, and mouth to mouth was basically how I got. I feel like in Japan, this is still kind of strong. Like it still counts a lot. So if a company wants to hire someone to do a video, and they look for maybe like some people in the company are looking for people to do it, right? And they find like a lot of people, like they find like two or three guys that are amazing. They see their jobs, they like the videos, but then this company has an introduction of somebody that also do it. If I think even if the quality is not there compared to the others, they will go with the suggestion.
Yes, they want to avoid the risk.
Yes,
They
yes,
want the relationship.
yeah. I think it's not only avoiding the risk, um, but maybe like they see it in a way that like if they use the same person that the person that introduced them, you know, it's kind of not a favor, but like they have something in common. Like they still get this connection. They keep the connection with the people that introduce them.
Right. So they value the relationships.
Yes, it's about the relationships. Yeah, exactly.
I see. So Masaki, what type of work do you typically take on? Like what kind of projects?
So we only do really like small, medium companies mostly. It's usually small companies that wants to promote their own companies. So, or they want to promote the product. So usually things like that. We do a lot of products and we do a lot of promotional videos for companies.
Right.
Yeah. We also do, I mean, the company right now, we have a lot of sections. So there's one section that deals with this kind of corporate jobs. We have another section that deals with weddings. So we do a lot of weddings too, photo and video. And we also do schools. So we work with schools in Japan as well.
Great. Awesome.
Yes.
So as an independent filmmaker, have you ever been given advice that turned out to be unrealistic, backward, or unproductive?
That's a good question. I think so. Like I don't remember specifically if you tell me, but maybe I think that everybody is growing, right? You never really know everything. So you're always growing, and if somebody asks you something at a certain point of your career where you still don't know stuff, you just gonna you try to give your best advice, but maybe it's not the best because you just don't know it, right?
Right. Exactly.
So yeah, so I feel like I'm very conscious about that. So I try not to give too much advice usually because of that, because like maybe something that's good for me might not be good for everyone. So
right. But like well, you have a fair bit of experience now in Japan. What kind of advice would you give to somebody who's just starting off and wanted to begin shooting in Japan?
yeah, so here's my thing. So here's the point. So getting back to the first question. So if you say like a bad advice, so I would usually advise people to learn Japanese because you're in Japan and it's going to be easier for you to get jobs, right?
Of course.
But that's not necessarily true to everybody. So maybe if you are really not good with languages and you have your own thing, maybe you should put your time in other stuff instead of learning Japanese, right? So that might be a bad advice, if you may, right?
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, but generally, I think that it's a good thing. So to give you a real example, when I get to Japan, I had a lot of these ideas. So I had this in Japan they call it this gaikoku mensei, right? So this vision, this foreign vision, right? Because it's different from what Japanese culture is used to, right? So I think we all have it, and I think that's very good and very important, and makes the foreigners in Japan special, in a certain way, right? Because the Japanese people, they know that and they appreciate that, and there's a lot of times where they specifically looking for that. They're looking for someone with the different vision, with the different point of view that they can find in their own market,
right?
And I used to have a lot of that, but when I told you that I decided to work for a Japanese company, a lot of that were like suppressed, so
it's disappeared.
Yes, because to learn the Japanese culture, what happened is that you have to unlearn or not do what you used to do, right? So there are certain things in the Japanese culture you're not supposed to do.
So maybe you lost a bit of that way, or you lost a bit of your outside eye.
Yes. I think what happened is that there's so many things in the Japanese culture that you're not supposed to do, or like it's not really very well seen in Japan, that you just stop doing a lot of stuff, and you stop to risk in a certain way. So
yes.
So that's something that I don't think is good, but eventually it happened, I think, with people that lived for so long in Japan.
Exactly.
Especially if you really mix in with the culture and you learn Japanese and you only work with Japanese people.
So what you're saying is if you can, try to keep your
Yes, try to be yourself. Like, don't lose your originality, right? Just to, because you have to adapt to the Japanese culture, but don't try to keep what makes you unique. Not copy like Japanese style or anything, like just because they say so. I think
Yeah,
that's
that's
a
great
important
advice.
thing. Yeah.
Great advice. So I guess, like, one of my favorite topics is gear. I mean, we all realize that every project takes different gear, right? Of course. But
Yeah.
is there some gear that you commonly work with, like cameras or lights or drones? I know I've seen a lot of your drone work as well on your website.
Yeah. Yeah. It's usually the most popular topic, right? The gears.
Yeah.
So yeah, I myself am a very gear enthusiastic. I really like technology, so I'm always looking for all little like piece of new gear that's out there. Uh, I went through most of cameras, I will say. So just to give you an idea, I started to shoot photo, right? So I used to shoot with Nikons.
Right.
Because to shoot with Nikons, I went to Nikon mirrorless. I did many gigs with the Nikon Z6, like video and photo. Like I think I don't know why people don't like it, but I really like the imaging on the Nikons for video.
Right.
Although it's not practical, but the quality is really good.
Yeah, it's not so popular, right?
Yeah, I don't know why, honestly, but I really like it. So I have did many weddings, many like promotional videos with the Nikons. Although I was using the Atomos Ninja to record externally,
Right.
but it was the Nikons. So well, currently here in the studio we don't have any Nikons, but we have Canons. So Canons are the main gear we have. So we have a lot of Mark IVs. We have the R5. We have the R6. And for video, for cinema cameras, we have the C70, which is amazing. It's really good. It's really light. It's really easy to use. And we have the C300 Mark III.
Wow.
So we usually pair with them, but yeah, for different jobs. So we have a lot of rankings for cameras for each job.
Right.
And beside the Canons, we currently have the Fujifilm, the XT3. XT3, yeah, it's a very good one. It's really small, also really good for weddings, for jobs that take long and you have to carry the camera. It's really good. And we currently bought the Reds, so we have the Red Raptor and the Red Komodo right now.
Yeah. Is that difficult to use? I mean, in terms of like, do you need like a big team to operate that, or you can do it? It's a one-man show, or?
Yeah, to be honest, like we don't really get a lot of like big productions, right? So I have done gaffing for big productions, but I have never really was DPing for like big companies or big brands or anything. The reason why we bought is for like we want to start doing such things. We are doing a lot of like documentaries, so our own original stuff. That's why we got them. And as far as I'm concerned, we just got the Raptor it's been like I think 4 months. So I talked to a lot of people that already own like the old models of the Reds, and it's really different. It's like the format is new, so nobody still uses it to it. I really, for me, that I used to shoot with small format cameras like 70. It's very similar, to be honest. Like, so it's really easy to shoot. So you definitely can do one man job with the Raptor. It's small, it's easy to use. It's heavy though, but it's easier. You don't necessarily need a lot of people for a specific job, right? Of course, there will be jobs where you need a team.
How about so cameras obviously always a popular topic. How about some other gear that, like, a lot of people focus on cameras and stuff, but like sometimes I think people should almost focus more on the lights or
Yeah,
other things that, are going to bring up your production like even quicker.
yeah, that's true. So I really like to lighting stuff whenever I can, whenever the jobs allow it. Uh, Especially because I came from photography base, so lighting is everything. So um, we do have our own LEDs. We have the apertures, the Godox, all of that. And to be honest, like once now that we have all this amazing cameras, like it really doesn't change that much, Like people think that once you get a red, it's gonna totally change like your quality and your film. And then once you get and you shoot with, and then you just realize that okay, it's the same. Like
It's another
it's the
camera.
same, Like yeah, it's not the camera. It's the whole production of what you're doing. So people that shoot with reds, they have big productions, big budgets. That's why the image looks better. It's not only the camera. So just like you said, like I rather shoot with C70 or even like R5 or a Fuji, but have all these like lightings and have all the preps I need,
Mhm. Right.
and you're gonna have a way better final result, I think.
So on, like, I know you guys are production, you guys are like, you guys have your own production house now and stuff, but like, what would you say for like for other filmmakers just getting in the game, like buying versus renting? Like how about that?
Yeah, most of people that I know, they rent a lot. They rent everything, and I understand this is like kind of a budget wise. It might make sense. I never really rented much of stuff because I don't feel confident enough to rent a gear that I never use or just use a few times and go for a job, Or even if you rent and if you get your gear like 1 day or 2 days before the shoot, it's just not natural for me. Like I have to feel that I master whatever equipment. It's not just the camera, like the lights, everything. So um, my advice will be if for people that are starting, start to buy cheaper. Like because today technology is so good that the cheap stuff is really good. Like you can achieve such great results with cheap lights, LEDs, and cheap cameras.
Right. So I guess it like kind of goes back to what you said, like all the big gear and all that really doesn't matter. It all comes back to
Yeah,
like you said, you got a lot of your experience with in photography, right? So all those fundamentals you learn in photography, it all kind of carries through right through to the end, even big jobs, right? Like it's just the same, right?
yeah, totally true. Like I think it's way more important for someone that's starting to learn how to communicate and maybe coordinate your models if you're using people. This
Mhm.
is a way much better skill than knowing how to operate your gimbal.
Right.
Just forget the gimbal, put in a tripod, and then just focus on your subject. Things like this, then you start to build your light, and then maybe you start to add thinking about the composition in your background. So this is all like once you master all of that, then you start to going up in your gear, to getting better light, better camera, better lenses.
So starting out, just mastering the photographic communication and language and vocabulary.
Yeah, yeah, I think that's the best thing
And
you
then
should
later you
do.
can add as necessary.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. You
Right.
can then you maybe can rent a gear, and then you can also, if you're a director and you just hire a DP or something, you can always learn from other people as well.
Yeah, that's a good point. Working with, I know a lot of people, they always want to have their hands on the camera, but I think like, when I went to film school, on my first project, my first big project, I had like a DP, I had like a team, like
Yeah, it's
where it's
amazing.
almost like the opposite. A lot of people are like, no, I want to touch the camera. I want to use the camera. But like, it was like, I had to like communicate to my
Exactly. Yeah.
team
Yeah.
what I wanted.
Exactly. Yeah. I think it's the main thing for people that want to be professionals, especially in Japan. Because I'm not so sure. I don't know if this apply to all Japan, but as far as my experience, um, it's not like in USA where like you go into a project and there is like people, you have this whole team and there's a specialist for each of stuff, you know, like usually in Japan is small crews, you know, and then if you are the DP, there might not be a director, you know, or there's a lot of scenarios where you are the DP and the director at the same time.
Right.
And if there's a director, he's working and worrying about other stuff. So like, if you don't look everything, if you don't look the background and your model, like there's a hair in their face, things like that, like nobody will look at that. And in my opinion, if you are only the DP, you should really pay attention on that small details as well, you know.
Right, right. So getting back to, as I mentioned, I took a look at your website and I noticed you like to use drones. So is that,
yeah.
how does that go? Like, do the clients here like really appreciate that, or is that just another piece of gear?
Yeah, so the drone is another piece of technology that really took me into video again, you know. So I think it's such a new way to take videos of a different perspective, you know. And I start flying with the Phantom 4 maybe 7 years ago, something like that. And I just bought it and I was just flying all of the, because I didn't know anything about rules and, you know, how to fly. But it was mostly like for personal projects. So once I started doing professionally, I start to study, and I usually hire it. I used to hire a lot of other companies to do the paperwork for flying drones. And I think drone videography was very popular in Japan maybe about 3-4 years ago, and now it's going down, but because it's getting harder and harder to use it freely, you know.
Yes, a lot of restrictions, right?
Yeah, there's a lot of restrictions. So many companies, they really want it, but they don't want to go through any, if there is any risk, they just say no drone, you know.
Right.
So that's kind of sad in Japan that it's so hard to shoot with different stuff, you know, right? They take so much time to acknowledge the new technologies like that.
Yeah, exactly. So Masaki, you mentioned documentaries. So you guys are getting into some documentaries and stuff as well?
Yeah, it's a small documentaries like we want to start to creating. So because I think that is the path of many of DPs, where you only hire as DPs and you don't really have this creative freedom to direct or, you know, to give your opinions. So we really want to do stuff the way we want, you know, like 100% the way that we think it should be. And then one of the ways we'll start doing documentaries, right?
Yes.
So we're just maybe start shooting some small companies, you know, talking about what they're doing, you know, very like indie stuff, very small stuff.
How about any short films or maybe even feature film projects in the pipeline?
Yeah, I'm very bad with narratives, so I have a lot of ideas, but it's so different once you to execute them and to have the ideas is so different. Yeah,
it's a big gap.
It's a big gap. So yeah, but I never really tried. But I know that it's so hard that it takes so much time that I will never really have that much time. I still didn't have it. Maybe once I have more time, I might try some small short films, some narratives like that.
Right.
That's exactly why I went with documentaries, because you don't have to build any, you know.
Yeah.
You don't have to force them. You just register.
More natural.
Yeah.
Right.
You just film whatever's happening naturally.
Exactly. So in terms of film, what film or filmmaker influenced you or inspired you the most, and why? I hope I'm not putting you too much on the spot.
Yeah, that's a good question. And I have a very weird perspective in this question, because I'm not the type of guy that I like I have like an idol, you know. I really like this guy in everything he does. I like the art. I like piece of videos. I like the films and and that's it. I don't care who made it, you know.
Right. As long as
Yes,
it's
yes.
inspiring.
And I don't even check. I don't even like who's the director, like I don't even check, you know. And I have and the I never really had this thing, you know, like who is shooting and like what is this guy doing? Because I have a feeling that if you get personal, like it's just like a musician, right? Like bands. I do the same with bands. Like I like the music, but I don't care who is singing. Like
Right. As long as it speaks to you and
yeah,
moves you.
exactly, yeah.
Okay, great.
So I think once you get too personal, let's say if you really like a director and you start to doing researching on this guy and the things he like and the things that he's was influenced by, and then these things gets to you as well, you know. So maybe you don't even like that, but just because this guy like it, and then you say, oh, I like that too, and this kind of start getting into you, and you start to run away from what your own style is, you know.
Exactly. Yeah, good point. Good point. So here's a bit of a different question for you. What do you think of the emerging NFT metaverse market and the potential impact for creators? You know, all this blockchain stuff and.
Yeah, that's a good question too. You comment with a lot of good questions.
No, thanks.
Yeah, to be honest, I have no idea. I do watch and I read a lot about this new technologies, blockchains and NFTs, and I think it will be a game changer. I believe so. And I haven't really stopped to put time to really think deep about it. But I think one thing that will change for us, for like videography industry, might be we might be able to somehow step over the stock industry, right? So right now, if you shoot for a stock database like photo and video, you have to upload your work, and they will do the sell, and then they will make money just because you're registered with them. But if the artist starts to do their own NFTs and starts to selling direct to the public, then you can bypass this and
keep your rights.
Exactly, yeah. I think so. I think I would really like for this to happen, you know, for like people start to buying direct from the artist, whatever is the music or video or photo, and then these people will arrive, right? They're gonna rise, and there's gonna be a lot of artists, and those people will start to influence other people, and I really hope that happens with these NFTs.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Well said. Definitely. So as your production company grows, how have your company's goals changed, and where do you see yourself in a year from now?
Yeah, so like I told you, we mostly do small jobs right now. I don't think we're ever going to stop doing, because there is a lot of demand, and one of the reasons why it is because we really want to help to grow these small companies, right? But as we grow and have more people, we are able to do more things. So yes, I want to go up and maybe doing commercials, maybe doing our own documentaries, maybe some narratives some days, maybe some short movies. I don't know.
Right.
And yeah, but I think as you grow, you get a lot of experience and you try a lot of stuff, and then naturally your goals start to change.
Right.
Right.
So just keep on going, eh?
Yeah, just keep on going. I think that I would like to, in a year, get to a place where I can freely choose whatever I want to do creatively.
Right. Excellent. Yeah. Excellent. So let's end things there. Thanks so much for taking the time to be on the show, Masaki. And I'd love to give you the opportunity to say, like, you know, what you're currently working on, if you can say, or where can people find more about your work, like social media accounts, etc., your websites.
Yes, thank you. Thank you very much for having me.
Sure.
So my current company is called Six Lights. If you guys want to check our website, there's
I will put all the links in the description later.
Yes, thank you very much. We are currently working in a few documentaries and television programs that I cannot tell the name, but it
Right.
will finish in April. Yeah, so that's what we're currently working on.
Very cool. We'll be looking out for that. All right, Masaki. So thank you so much for coming on. You're my first interview of 2022. So
Really? Okay, thank you.